Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June the 10th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I would say the day was overall a good day. I have thoughts. I have things on my mind. I've been doing a lot of pondering today, but let me get to the day, and then I'll get to some of my thoughts as I go through it. I guess I kind of have to explain some things on why today happened the way it did, but essentially, I started the day off normal. I got to work, and I want to say about 30 minutes or an hour or so in, I just requested so that I could just have more or less a half day, get out like 2 hours early. So the reason I did that was because I needed to tend to some errands and have some time. I've been really stressed out. I've been kind of flustered, y'all. And why have you been flustered, Isaiah? You've been saying you've been good this whole time. What do you mean you've been flustered? For a few days, I've been dealing with a new mouse. There's a new mouse in my house, and it's stressing me out. It has just been a thing, and I had a few remaining mouse traps, like a couple of them left, and they were not very effective. This is a real Jerry we got on our hands, and I think this time around I'm gonna spare you all the details. I get the feeling that people really don't like these stories, and I get it. I understand. I don't really like living them, that's for sure. When it comes to having to deal with this mouse extraction, we'll say extraction. That's not really the word I really should use, but you know what I mean. So yeah, it stresses me out. I feel though overall less stressed than the first time. The first time this happened, I was on 10. I was freaking out. I was losing my mind about it. This time I'm worked up. I'm stressed, but I'm just trying to handle it. Also, on top of the mouse problem, I have limited resources with money right now. Money's very tight, and that's another issue. So I've just been kind of fighting a couple of wars on a couple of fronts. And I said, you know what? Today, I'm going to take some time to get my gym session in early, and then I'm going to go to the store, and I'm going to pick up, some things. I'm going to pick up some things to deal with some problems, hopefully. So, I'm setting out to do that. But overall, work as it was, we can get back to that. Work was good. Work was solid. Not too bad, not too busy. We more or less just marched along. After work, we went to the gym. I think definitely getting in before 5, despite it being Tuesday, was such a boon. I was able to get all of my workouts in. I was even able to do a little bit of catch up on the Smith machine that I didn't get from yesterday. So that was nice. Got a nice pump. Got even a little sore on a Tuesday. All right, let's go. But yeah, that was nice. And then yeah, we ran our errands. That was overall good. Not too taxing or what have you. So I'm gonna try to get on that either sometime tonight or tomorrow, because I just really want to try to get a handle on this. I hope that it's not too late. I hope I'm not dealing with some kind of infestation, but I don't know how they're getting in, y'all. So it's just been a lot to ponder. And like I said, I even tried to be like, hey, I'm not going to talk about this because I don't think people want to hear me moan and groan about something like this. It's not fun podcasting material. I get it. But also, I don't know. I feel like stuff like this is affecting the pod even, and it distracts me. And, so I like to just kind of have full disclosure when I can, right? That's part of this, part of the process. So yeah, there's that. And there's some more thoughts that I want to get into in a second, but we'll actually save that for the news portion because it's kind of tied to that a little bit. I got to talk about some politics, but let's do a food corner. Kind of flashing back to work. I come into my first break, so we're talking 10 o'clock, 10:15 or so, right? And there's a slew of goods on the table, and one of the HR people is telling us hey, all this food's about to expire from the vending machine, the vending area. You can go ahead and take some. You can take one. And y'all know free is me. and I saw the dog. I saw the glizzy. I saw the hot dog that I wanted. I wanted this hot dog last week. I was eyeing it. I don't know if I said this, but I have a habit since I've been on my diet, as like for real. I have this really nasty. I don't even know if it's a nasty habit, but I like to window shop food a lot. I like to watch people eat. I like to watch food stuff a lot more than ever. Um, but I was pawing at this dog the other week. It was a quote unquote Chicago dog. And I was like, you know what? Look, it's just been so long. It's been so long, and I mean so long. It was, I think, what was it, 2 3 weeks ago? I was telling y'all Blue Ash Chili, where we got the conies and whatnot. But it's been a long time. Okay, that's a long time for me. I used to have glizzies every week, y'all. I miss them. So I picked one of those up, and then I picked one of those up, and I got even sluttier with it, y'all. I added some ketchup to it. I added some. I don't know why we have this, because like there's a condiment section, like with the free coffee or whatever. And like it makes sense. You have ketchup, you have mustard, you have salt, pepper, mayo, all that kind of accoutrement. You got your forks, your utensils, all that. Why though? Why? And this has been a thing for a while now. I don't know why we have it, but we have Parmesan cheese. Like we have just packets of Parmesan cheese. Like I don't I that vexes me why we just have so much of that. Maybe I should inquire. Maybe I should like dig into that. I want to know. I need answers. But I said fine. I'm gonna take this. So I put that on the Chicago dog, and I proceed to go to town on this thing. So don't. Suck it on, crocodile. I can't do it. God damn it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John Cougar Mellencamp. I can't even say his name right now. But no, I sucked the fuck out of that dog. It was yummy. It was good. Um, it is blowing up my stomach though. My belly has been barking ever since. Y'all know I got a sensitive ass stomach. For some reason, it got better with the diet, and now it's back to worse. I wouldn't say worse, but it goes to the point where I have like more good days than bad, I think, on the week, but then I still have bad days, and that bothers me when it comes to my diet. Maybe that's on some, like, Isaiah, you probably have IBS or something. I don't know. Look, I didn't go to a doctor for this shit. Well, I did when I was a kid. I'm in the weeds, and we haven't even really got to the news. Oh, my God. So, the Chicago dog, it was yummy. Was it worth it? Hell yeah, it was. Hell yeah, it was. I would do it. I don't know. I won't do it for a while, I think. And you know what? I was tempted because there was one more dog remaining. I think it was a sauerkraut dog too, y'all. And the like lady was passing it out like Vanna White style, because she was just trying to get rid of everything. She's like, I got one more left. I just walked on by. So that's restraint. That's growth, I think. I don't know. Anyway, so that's Food Corner. We got that. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news slash actually more yapping, more blogging. Okay. Now, our first story is from a news site called The Nation. The article headline is, I just got back from the centrist rally. It was weird as hell. Um, Let me read who this is from, who made this, because that's important. Ada Chavez. Um, Now, I initially have been hearing about this rally. I'm not really referencing anything directly from the article, though I would suggest this article. I think it's a really good read. And this person was on Chapo Trap House. They had a really good conversation I listened to today while I was at work. And then I also listened on TrueAnon. Y'all know I reference TrueAnon a lot. I fuck with them heavy. And they went to this thing called Welcome Fest. Essentially, like this big Democrat centrist rally. And it was like them just celebrating, them just like trying to show off. And it's like, yeah, like we're pretty much the head of this thing. We're doing it now, and we're finding ourselves here and now, and we're shouting it proud. Like it was like their just big summit moment. And it really was like a thing for me. It's been a thing for me thinking about it over the past like couple days as I like kind of learned about kind of what went on in it. And once again, I really don't want to focus on the whole Welcome Fest as a whole. It's all kind of mushy detail shit, in my opinion. But it just it revealed to me that this is it. Like, this is the Democratic Party. Like, I think there are times that I want to delude myself that like American democracy, American liberalism can really grow and blossom and become more so. You know, like I grew up on that Obama style change bullshit. And I think that there's always going to be some part of me that wants to believe that you can just do this by just like the normal means within the system. And yeah, it sucks. It's two fucking parties. And like it always seems to like fucking descend into bullshit and not go anywhere and get worse somehow over time. But like it'll work. We just gotta like get together and come up with something cohesive. But you see shit like this and you see who kind of more or less is ruling the roost in the Democratic Party, at least in terms of running the narrative. And it's like, well, they're trying to find themselves. They're trying to figure things out. Like, no, they know what they want. They know what they don't want to do, too. You know, they know that they want to kind of keep the status quo as much as possible. Pretty much saying that, hey, we are down to be Republican light because isn't that so much better than what you have right here and now? And like that's the party. That's what they're doing, and they're happy to do that. Like that. This is like the mask off moment, I guess, for them. Like where we stop having the conversation of like, well, what's the next move? What's the next play? There isn't one. It is we are gonna hopefully win in the midterms, and in the future we're gonna win in the White House because what? Because we're not Donald Trump. And you're going to hate this shit so much. You're going to be so upset and you're going to be so frustrated that you'll take anything. And you'll take us just like before. And it's so frustrating because it really shows that there is nothing to learn for the Democrats. There's nothing to change from. There's nothing to pivot from the whole situation with the Harris campaign. You know, there's nothing. Nothing has changed. In fact, it seems like it's almost gotten worse because now they are trying to avoid the quote unquote groups like, you know, the pro-Palestine, the progressives, the climate change, whatever. They don't really want that. They want to show a strong front that is unified in this moderation. And like that is the thing that's really that people really clamor for the most. And there's no reason to really upset once again the status quo. And that's so frustrating because it's just not going to get us anywhere. And like, I've said it before, you know, as much as I feel like I do lean towards leftism, I have a problem sitting down and talking and hearing from a lot of leftists a lot of times because it's just this whole whining fucking crank off about how like, oh, these guys suck so much and da 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 da. And it's like, yeah, they're right, but it's not like we're doing anything to make any kind of real active change. So, like, you know, what do we do? But then I do realize, and it's like, no, these motherfuckers are nauseating. They're infuriating people. Like, and they don't care anymore. Like, there's nothing to show. Like, they just want anyone who actually has, like, a heartbeat to just kind of get out of the way. You know, kind of just let this shit play out. Don't worry about all that noise and the people yelling at you, telling you you're bad, telling you're like you're evil for supporting these fucking things that you do support wholeheartedly. It is frustrating that this is where the dirt settles. You know, the dust is just, this is where it lays, you know. So, you know, I wanted to reference this article. And I don't know. I mean, the thing I like about this podcast, this project, the thing that I do is, for better or worse, right or wrong, I do this shit and like it can sound so similar every day. But I think, you know, once again, to always reference my long-term listeners, you probably notice the changes in me sometimes maybe even better than I do, you know, and or where I kind of sit in the range and how that kind of oscillates, right? And I just kind of find myself at a personal maybe sea change with this shit. And, you know, it's frustrating, like almost to tears, because it's just like you want to just believe that there is a system here in America because we do have the capacity to do it. But it's just whenever these people get any close to power, they just don't really care. Like maybe there's a few, maybe there's one or two, a handful, whatever, but they never really are going to get the shot. The party's never going to let that fucking shit happen. And, you know, it's just like, why run any defense for it? Why why support it? That's why, like I said with the last election, I completely understood why people weren't going to vote. I completely understood, like, I wasn't going to try to convince anybody. I was just going to, follow my shit. And in terms of, like, well, who are you going to vote for in 2028 or whatever? Y'all know I'm probably voting the same kind of fucking way. You know what I mean? I still do probably intend to show up and fucking participate in this goddamn clown car show. But once again, I just don't have any faith in it now. You know what I mean? I'm just so disillusioned in that regard. So it sucks. It fucking sucks. But I wanted to talk about Welcome Fest and boo that bullshit. And let's go ahead and move on, though, to more or less our stories. And we'll go ahead and go from there. From BBC, Austria's school shooting death toll rises to 11 after victim dies in hospital. 10 people have been killed in a school shooting in the Austrian city of Graz, in what is the deadliest gun attack in the country's recent history. Police said the 21-year-old gunman, a former student, took his own life in a school bathroom shortly after. The incident took place in the Dreyer-Utzengasse secondary school in the northwest of the city. 6 females and 3 males were killed in the attack, according to Interior Minister Gerhard Karner. A further 12 people were injured, some seriously, according to police. Later on Tuesday, local media reported an injured female had died in the hospital, bringing the number of victims killed to 10. The gunman who has not yet been named was a former Dreyer-Utzengasse student who didn't graduate from the school, Karner told a news conference on Tuesday afternoon. There has been a lot of speculation about the case, Karner noted, adding, "It is now the job of the criminal office to investigate." In the same conference, police said the gunman's motive was still under investigation. Officers also confirmed the gunman was not known to police before the attack. Current information suggests the shooter legally owned the 2 guns used in the attack and had a firearms license, police added. Local media outlets have reported the suspect used a pistol and shotgun to carry out the shooting. He was an Austrian man from the wider Graz region who acted alone, police said. There's more details about the incident. In terms of Austria, it's not a place that's really known for gun violence like this. The quote is used, "This isn't like America. Like, this is like really shocking." And it's like, yeah, I know, we get that a lot. But obviously, regardless, it's unfortunate. It's sad, whenever this kind of shit happens. If I do get any details in terms of what was the motivation, things like that, we'll come back to this story. Our next one is from Politico. RFK Jr. to fire all members of the CDC Vaccine Advisory Committee. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. plans to fire all 17 members of the panel that advises the Centers for Disease Control, or the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, on vaccines, he said Monday. The committee has been plagued with persistent conflicts of interest and has become little more than a rubber stamp for any vaccine, Kennedy wrote in an opinion piece published in the Wall Street Journal. He wrote that the decision is meant to restore faith in vaccines, which seems very counterintuitive, especially for who he's probably going to add in, probably more people who are, just vaccine skeptics. But we'll continue. Nearly 2 hours after Kennedy's column was published, members of the panel received termination notices from the CDC, according to a copy of the email seen by Politico. Per June 9th, 2025, director from the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, this email serves as a formal notice of your immediate termination as a member of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or ACIP. I like it, ACIP. The notice reads, ACIP votes on updates to the CDC's vaccine schedule. The CDC director has the power to overrule those recommendations, but rarely does. Kennedy, a longtime vaccine skeptic, will now be able to select replacements for all members who usually serve 4-year terms. Now, this was something that he went back on in terms of his, agreements, soft agreements, I guess you can really say, when he was talking to Congress, in terms about getting his nomination. So we'll get to that real quick. This is a highlighted portion. The decision also seemed to buck promises that he made to Senator Bill Cassidy, chair of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, to win confirmation as HHS secretary. Kennedy told Cassidy that he would maintain the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Advisory Committee or ACIP, we'll say that, without changes, the Louisiana Republican said. So this was something that was supposed to be like, hey, Republican to, whoever, essentially MAGA, heir, or not heir, I guess I should say, MAGA supplicant. There we go, RFK Jr. I'm trying to come up with a name for this guy and his earworm. But essentially he's like, yeah, no, totally, I'm going to not do that. And essentially he's like, no, like he kind of said that in conversations, I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit now. He's like, no, I'm not going to, actually I'll just read from this part. Cassidy told reporters at the Capitol that he spoke with Kennedy twice on Monday and that the assurance he'd won from the now secretary to win his confirmation vote concerned the ACIP process rather than the membership. So essentially he's like, nah, I'm not going to like reinvent the wheel here, but the people who are pushing the wheel, well, maybe they'll change. And it's like, okay, so you altered the deal. Like, which, I don't think this surprises anyone. If you've been keeping up with RFK, you're not surprised by this. And, I mean, you can be upset with it, like a guy like me, or maybe you're like, nah, I'm so glad. That's why Trump picked him, man. He's like a rogue pick. I love that shit, man. It's so cool he does that shit, man. I don't know. I picked a new guy. It's not the yee guy, but I mean, there's more guys. Isn't it crazy that there's tech guys in the MAGA sphere? I was thinking about that throughout the week, too, with this whole Trump, Elon Musk breakup, which seems to be more or less short-lived. Now he's just the ex. It's just over, whatever. But, it's like, it's so gross. Like, I'm like a libertarian type of guy, like, I guess, dude, blow it out your fucking ass. Let's see. I mean, so this was a thing. This happened. I don't like it. But we can go ahead and move on to something I kind of like, something that's kind of fun. It's a bit of good news. It's a nugget. You know what I mean? It's a nugget. But we're going to go ahead and do our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. A little trick I've been doing with those honeycomb things that I got, the chocolate covered honeycombs. Every once in a while, I'll put some honey on them, on top of them. Hoo-wee. Ooh, that like multiply the smack. That multiply the smack factor. It ups it a bit. It is really good. In case you're gonna get them, I know I was like, oh, I'm only gonna eat them one time and I'm done. It's a great ride along the way. I'll say that. They're delectable. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Thanks for the glizzy. Sorry. From the BBC. UK sanctions far-right Israeli ministers for inciting violence against Palestinians. The UK has sanctioned 2 far-right Israeli ministers over repeated incitements of violence against Palestinian communities in the occupied West Bank. Itamar Ben-Gvir and Basil Smotrich will both be banned from entering the UK and will have any assets in the UK frozen as part of measures announced by the Foreign Secretary. It is part of a joint move with Australia, Norway, Canada, and New Zealand announced on Tuesday. In response, Israel said it is outrageous that elected representatives and members of the government are subjected to these kind of measures. David Lammy said Finance Minister Smotrich and National Security Minister Ben-Gvir had incited extremist violence and serious abuses of Palestinian human rights. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio condemned the move, writing on X, "These sanctions do not advance U.S.-led efforts to achieve a ceasefire, bringing all hostages home and end the war, because that's all that matters. Like, despite the fact that it's like, hey, we are trying to do an ethnic cleansing on not just Gaza but also the West Bank here. We are doing settler violence. That doesn't matter. There's a war going on. Okay, all right. Did you think about that? Like, thank you, base Marco Rubio. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the war that Israel is continuing to conduct. War, genocide. Like, yeah, my bad, dog. You're so right, dude. This is small potatoes in the conversation on the plate. Why are we worrying about this? Like, fuck out of here, dude. Like, and it's sad. It's sad that this is like a sliver of good news that you kind of can take out of the conversation, that these countries are finally coming to the conclusion that we can no longer hold this stance with you. Like, we can't support you from the bench anymore. So at least we're going to say, hey, we're going to slap your hand. Because that's what it is. Like, y'all know how I feel about sanctions. I think they're a fucking rodeo show. I think they do absolutely fucking nothing. That more times than not, if you are sanctioning someone with means, they are going to find a way to get around it. And it's just going to cause economic pain. And sure, but more times than not, that just affects people on the downline. And in this situation, cool. I don't fuck with Ben Gvir and I don't fuck with Schmoyrich. Good. I'm glad that they get fucking sanctioned. But they're going to find ways around this if it affects them. They're not going to the goddamn UK. They're fine with that, dude. They don't care if they get the fucking Netanyahu treatment. As long as they get to keep doing what they're doing, they are fine with it. So, you know, they're still going to get fucking aid from the U.S. They're still going to get the same fucking bullshit. So, yes, you do have to ask, does this matter? No, it's a nothing burger thing, but I'll take it. You know, these guys can fucking cry and whine about it, and at least I guess that's something. You know, you take that and you kind of just keep it moving, I guess. That's all you can do, right? But anyway, that's where I'll leave it. I know, bit of a rocky little landing, but, you know, hey, that's so it goes. So it is. That's all I have. So if you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's a free action. Helps out a lot. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Whatever listening platform you like, I'm probably there, waiting, ready for you. Leave a like, leave a comment. That's cool. Leave a nice comment. Leave an encouraging comment. You know, answer a question, ask a question. Things like that are great. Love that. Love to see that. Sharing is caring. Obviously, you don't have to do any of these things, though. I really just appreciate you just tuning in and stopping by. Just, you know, hearing what's up today. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. That's the tops, baby. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.